is the death of relationship dumbassification. A thought-provoking conversation with the voice of reason. An exploration into why you and your girl just can't relate. The world is tuned in to the voice of reason, blowing up the Foxxhole every Thursday evening. If your man is tripping, then talk to Zoe before you leave. Maybe y'all can make it work, and if not, he can tell you exactly how to tell him to kick rocks. Intelligence with lots of comedy. It's not your average show. It's ZoWilliams, the voice of reason on Foxxhole Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, Zometheus Rising has returned to the Foxhole. You're listening to ZoWilliams, the voice of reason on Foxhole Radio, Sirius 106 XM 149, and tonight's topic is another heater. How to admit you're a cheater. Rebuilding, redeveloping, courage, honesty, and trust in your relationship after infidelity. Is it possible to redeem oneself after they've committed the act of infidelity? We see people all the time. As soon as something like this happens, they break up. It's over. Sandra Bullock, Jesse James, I'm out. This is enough. You lied. The fairy tale is over. I'm out. But my question tonight is, how do we rebuild trust? How can a relationship survive infidelity? Is it possible, or do we just have wacky, crazy expectations, unrealistic expectations that your person, man or female, will never cheat? How do we get out of it? ZoWilliams, 877-2-106-106. That's the number to dial. How to admit you're a cheater. Rebuilding, redeveloping, courage, honesty, and trust in your relationship after infidelity. Call me right now. 877-2-106-106. That's the number to dial. I'm taking a quick break, and I'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, ZoWilliams, the voice of reason, has returned to Foxhole Radio. I got to give you the number to dial, 877-2-106-106. That's the number. You know you want to participate. You know somebody who's going through this in their relationships right now. How to admit you're a cheater. Is that one of the most difficult things to do? When you've committed adultery and you've cheated infidelity, you cheated on your woman or whatever, that moment, or you cheated on your man, that moment where you say, I gotta tell him. That's a hard thing to do. And then, are you willing to put in the time, the energy, and the effort to rebuild the trust? How do we rebuild trust? Oh, it's a difficult situation. 877-2-106-106 is the number to dial. That news clip that you heard when we came back from break was Bila from Hannity and Combs. And, I mean, this is a pervasive situation. You see it in the news all the time. So let me go and ask a few questions to get this conversation lathered. Is total forgiveness after infidelity as unrealistic as finding a totally monogamous version of Prince Charming? Right? I mean, sometimes that's the fairy tale. Sometimes the fantasy. He'll never cheat on me. He'll be mine, all mine. Right? Is seeking total forgiveness as realistic as seeking Mr. Prince Charming? I don't know. 877-2-106-106 is the number to dial. Really quickly, let me introduce some guests that I have in the building. It's very important that I get these people on right now because they are the experts. They have the information. On the line, we have Dr. Janis A. Spring, Ph.D. She is a nationally acclaimed expert on the topics of trust, intimacy, and forgiveness. She is the author of the award-winning After the Affair, Healing the Pain and Rebuilding Trust When a Partner Has Been Unfaithful. Harper & Collins. Go get the book. From what I'm told, it's the Amazon's #1 bestseller in its category. You guys got to represent this book. I always give you guys good books and good authors. Go support Janis. You can find her at www.janisaspring.com. She's in the building right now. Janis, say hello to everybody who's waiting to receive insight on how to rebuild trust.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Which question do you want me to tackle first?
Well, let's just do the basic one right now. After infidelity, how does one get over it? How does one overcome it? And how does one start the process of rebuilding trust?
Well, it is a massive piece of work because it's a massive trauma to the hurt party. and they experience a shattering of themselves and of their basic assumptions about the marriage and the way the world works. So people have to be prepared for a great deal of effort, and it takes at least a year and a half after the unfaithful partner gives up the affair person and has absolutely no contact. I think the couple is going to go on a roller coaster ride when there are going to be times when they believe too much damage has occurred and it's impossible to repair the relationship. But something's gone terribly wrong, and it's not what they bargained for usually when they signed up for the marriage. And there are lessons to be learned and to be figured out, because even though one person may have had the affair, often the other person is also not happy. And maybe they're having an affair, too, with the children or their job or food or depression or something. So there's an awful lot to learn, and then people can go on, if they're really willing to look at themselves honestly and learn the lessons, people can go on and build something stronger than they had before.
So, Dr. Janis, do you think it's kind of a loss of identity when one finds out that their partner has been cheating?
There's no question. I talk about 10 psychological losses that the hurt partner experiences. Loss of identity is the number one, and that's where you maybe knew yourself as attractive and capable and funny and desirable. Then when you find out your partner's had an affair, you lose all sense of yourself.
Right.
And you're very angry because not only have you lost your partner, you've lost yourself.
Wow. So your whole self-esteem and self-worth and all of that stuff takes a hit.
The way you're used to experiencing yourself. You can't recapture the way you're used to knowing yourself. But this is a normal response to a trauma of this dimension.
So how does one, okay, here's the trauma, it hurts, I'm in a bad space. How does one start the process of returning back to normal?
Well, if the affair is out in the open, like you're saying it is because the person is shattered, then the unfaithful partner has to begin to rebuild trust. Trust is not a gift. Trust must be earned through bold, courageous, heartfelt acts of repair by the unfaithful partner. And this means being accountable, often in ways that may make them feel controlled, manipulated, or slighted in some way. But
go deeper into that point where they may feel controlled or manipulated and slighted in some way.
Yeah, well, the hurt partner doesn't want them out of their sight. They don't want them traveling on business trips. They don't want overnights. They don't want dinners, because out of sight, they're worried about what's going on. And so they want them home.
So would you say the partner that committed the infidelity has to somewhat acquiesce to this request?
Absolutely. I think that they have to realize there's a body of work that has to be done here, and they may feel controlled. Some people feel very controlled. Some people are delighted. You know, these other people may say, look, I've screwed up. I want to rebuild this relationship. I don't know how to earn back trust. Help me. Tell me what you need from me. I'm willing to do it. It may even be that the person wants to hire a detective, and they want the unfaithful partner to have a pool of money which they can draw from, and whenever they feel insecure, they'll call the detective, and that person will trace them. That would be an extreme measure. But it could also be, you know, when you're on your computer and I come up from behind you, I don't want you changing the screen.
Right.
Leave it on. Let me see what you're doing. What are you looking at? Give me the passwords to your computer, to your, your cell phone.
Now it's more about, hey, I trust you to a certain degree, enough to stay in the relationship with you, but now there has to be full disclosure. Well,
again, this whole idea of full disclosure, these are very unresearched questions, frankly. We don't really know how much truth is good to tell. Some people do better with all the truth, and some people are completely devastated by the truth.
Sometimes the truth is very
destructive. So I tell people that they should ask themselves two questions. Hurt parties, in seeking the truth, should ask themselves two questions. One is, is this information going to help me, or is it just going to stir the pot? Because once you know it, people ask the most unbelievable details about, your person's sex life with this other person. What are you going to do with this information? Once you get it, it will leave an indelible mark.
Wow.
So number one, you really have to figure out what is it you're after. Is the information going to help you? And the second is, as much as possible, keep the conversation to you and your partner and take the affair person out of the picture. In other words, rather than saying, tell me everything you did with this person sexually, it's better to say, talk to me about us, our sexual relationship.
Wow. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to ZoWilliams, the voice of reason on Foxxhole Radio. Tonight's topic, how to admit you're a cheater. How do you admit it? Rebuilding courage, honesty, and trust in your relationship after an infidelity, after an act of it. Let me just do this really quickly. I got to introduce my in-studio guest. You guys know her, all Foxhole fandoms. You guys know exactly who she is. She is a recent author of an incredible book called Why Do I Have to Think Like a Man? How to Think Like a Lady and Still Get the Man. Shanae Hall is in the building. You listen, fans of Foxhole know who she is. She just wrote a book. It's on fire. She has a section in here about cheating as well. She's in the building. Welcome to the Voice of Reason.
Thank you so much, Zoe, for having me on. I appreciate it. It's good to be back on Foxhole.
And Dr. Janis Spring is in the building with you right now, and she's dropping some heavy information. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to call me right now, 877-2-106-106. That's the number to dial. Of course, I've got more questions for the both of you, right? Is it possible or realistic to think that our relationships can be affair-proof? Right? Can we affair-proof our relationships? Shanae, tell me, and then Dr. Janis A. Spring, I want you to answer that question.
I don't think there's such thing as affair-proof, or if you do a certain thing, or if you dress a certain way and carry yourself a certain way, that means your husband is not going to cheat, because we change and we grow as we mature, and some things we want differently as we get older. I mean, of course, like I say in my book, I was married to the same person from 15 to 27. So actually we got married at 21, but we were together from 15 to 27. And the thing, you don't want the same things. When I wanted at 15, I don't want at 27. And
right.
If people don't grow with you, then you grow apart, and that's when the possibility of infidelity and other things come into play.
Wow. Wow. Dr. Janis?
I don't know that it's any person's job to keep another person faithful. I think if you enter a marriage and you agree to be faithful, then it's your job to be faithful. That doesn't mean the partner has no responsibility. A partner could be abusive. A partner could not care about their appearance, and create conditions where the other person doesn't want to be there. Mm-hmm. But even under those conditions, you don't have to have an affair. You could tell the other person, I don't want to be with you. And you don't have to destroy their trust. You can end the marriage. Or you could say, I'm unhappy, and unless we get into therapy, I don't want to stay in this marriage anymore. You don't have to violate their trust and destroy their sense of self and their world.
Right, because once you destroy it, they really have nothing to work with unless, I'm saying they don't have anything to work with unless somebody leads them out of that destruction. Like, how do I rebuild? How do I recover? How do I recuperate? These are very difficult questions to ask oneself after their trust in a relationship has been destroyed. I think this is why a lot of times people have a difficult time getting back into a relationship after something like this has happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of course, I have more questions. Are there some things that can indicate that a marriage is more likely to recover than not? What is, are there some signs that can say, okay, this is a strong couple or strong enough to overcome this thing? And what are the signs that says this isn't a strong enough couple to deal with this? What do you think, Doc?
I think one of the most important indicators is how defensive people are. If they're willing to look deeply and honestly at themselves and take a fair share of responsibility, whatever that is. It could be 2%, it could be 50%, and they're really willing to look at themselves. And again, nobody makes you have an affair, like nobody makes you become an alcoholic, nobody makes you have an eating disorder. But that person may have contributed to your loneliness and your unhappiness in that relationship and created a gulf between the two of you. Mm-hmm. And people need to take responsibility for how they've created or contributed to their partner's unhappiness. And when people are defensive about that and self-righteous and they're not willing to look at themselves, nothing's learned, nothing's gained, and this couple's going nowhere.
Wow. Let me just ask again, how important is personal accountability and responsibility to rebuilding trust? How important is that?
You want me to answer?
Absolutely, Doc.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to Shanae too.
Okay. Again, I think that's critical to be able to look honestly at yourselves and to hear the other person's complaints and with an open heart. And often we will learn things from our partners that we don't want to face. You know, maybe a person is moody and talks in a very shrill way to their partner. Maybe they're buried in their work or they're buried in their BlackBerry, and it makes the other person feel irrelevant and unnoticed. And maybe a partner doesn't help with the kids and they feel completely deserted. And it kicks up all kinds of issues from their early childhood experiences where they may have had similar experiences. So they have layers and layers. Now they're being hurt in ways that they, as an adult, in ways that they were already hurt as a child. And, this is dynamite for a marriage. Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to The Voice of Reason with ZoWilliams. You know we got to take a quick break. You know how our show rolls. It rolls quick. Get to your phone lines, 877-2-106-106. That's the number to dial. How to admit you're a cheater. Rebuilding courage, honesty, and trust in your relationships after infidelity. Call me right now, 877-2-106-106. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Peace.
Marriage is treated as something that you want to rush out of, that you're miserable in, and the affair is treated as something wonderful and fulfilling. And the reality is that in our society right now, it would be a really unfortunate circumstance if the values of fidelity and loyalty and commitment were thrown under the bus.
Ladies and gentlemen, ZoWilliams, the voice of reason, has returned. That little news clip. Bila from Hannity and Combs. Marriage is seen as something you want to run away from. Shanae Hall is in the building right now, and I have a true or false question for you.
Okay.
Shanae?
Yes.
Is this true? Once a cheater, always a cheater? 877-2-106-106 is the number to dial. Call me right now if you're a believer in this mess.
No, I don't believe once a cheater, always a cheater. I mean, I think people can grow up and change at any time. It's a choice to cheat. It's a choice to not cheat.
So why is infidelity so fatal to a relationship?
Because you can never, for me, and the people that we've interviewed, like I said, for our book, we interviewed over 300 people. It's hard to get the trust back. So just because you cheated with the first person doesn't mean you're going to continue to cheat in future relationships.
So aren't you projecting a fear that isn't there?
No, if you've been cheated on, that's a real fear. That's like if somebody cracked you in the head when you were sitting in your car. That's a real fear that it can happen again.
Wow. Which is worse, physical or emotional infidelity? Or can these two really be separated?
They're equally as bad, but I mean, emotional is something you can't recover. It's inside you. I don't know how to physically say it. I mean, it's just inside you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, tonight's topic is how to admit you're a cheater. Redeveloping courage, honesty, and trust in your relationship after infidelity. Dr. Janis A. Spring, PhD, is on the line with us right now. Dr. Janis, which is worse, physical or emotional infidelity, or can the two really be separated?
I don't know that most people would even know what emotional infidelity is.
Go deeper.
I can only say that when you discover that your partner's had an affair, you do go through the shattering trauma, and you lose all sense of yourself. You lose belief in the way the world works. You thought perhaps if you were a decent human being, a decent partner, you could trust that your partner would treat you in kind. You have a sense that you really don't know how to live on this planet, and that there aren't rules that you can count on, that it's arbitrary. Some people lose their will to live, and it's quite devastating. And there's certainly a shattering of your sense of self, of your sense of specialness. You thought you could please this person the way no one else could, and you realized that you are disposable and replaceable.
Disposable, though? Really? Disposable?
You have been. You have been often disposed of.
Wow. That's heavy. Wow, that is, man. Ladies and gentlemen, ZoWilliams, the voice of reason. I'm sitting right here with Shanae Hall, author of Why Do I Have to Think Like a Man and How to Think Like a Lady and Still Get the Man. And I'm also on the phone with Dr. Janis A. Spring, Ph.D. She's the author of a great book, After the Affair, Healing the Pain and Rebuilding Trust When a Partner Has Been Unfaithful. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to transition and get some callers in here. But before I do, Dr. Janis, could you please give us 3 trust rebuilding elements that could springboard this relationship back from the darkness?
Okay, well, they're very personal. So, somebody would say, call me several times during the day just to check in. Somebody else will say, please don't call me several times during the day to check in. So, again, you have to find out what matters to your partner, not what matters to you. Somebody may, for example, give me the passwords to your computer, to your cell phone, so that I can check and I can go on and I can screen the calls whenever I feel like it. Another trust-building behavior, very not an obvious one, might be, tell me when you're angry at me. Tell me when I upset you. Because sometimes a person will have an affair because they're conflict avoiders. And when the person annoys them, they go elsewhere with it. They ball themselves up. They don't talk out the conflict, and they go elsewhere. And this is a pattern that has to be reversed, where, if you're annoyed at me, if I've done something to hurt your feelings, talk it out with me. It's not enough to say, trust me, I'll never do this again. Right. People have to understand why the affair happened, and then they have to develop some new strategies around that.
Wow. So it really requires, being in a relationship is like being a mechanic. You got to have some tools, and you got to know how to fix this.
You have to want to fix the car. You know what I'm saying? What she's talking about is on a whole nother level. I have to want to say, I'm going to check his cell phone, and I'm going to follow behind him, and I'm going to follow up at work, and I'm going to see what he's doing at lunchtime. For most human beings, the reason that the relationship ends, if you look at Tiger Woods and Sandra Bullock, the relationships that are in the media now, who wants to have to chase you around? I married you because I want to know that you're my other half and that you're going to protect me more than I'm going to protect myself. If you're willing to injure me and cause what she called devastating damage to me, why do I want to be with
because
that
you're in
kind of
love.
person?
Because you're in love. People just don't marry for checks anymore.
No, we're talking about being in love and it hurting, being devastated.
Go deeper, Doc. Come on back in.
Well, because people aren't experts in marriage. And
Absolutely.
We get married and we have no clue what is required of us. And we have children and we have no clue how stressful that is. Wow. And that's when marriages really begin to fall apart, because everybody has low resources and there isn't time. So I think part of it is that we realize that good people can have affairs, and good marriages can have affairs. And if they're really willing to look at what went wrong, they can go on to rebuild. So nobody wants to be a detective, and nobody wants to be in charge of keeping the other person honest. Right. But if that person is really willing to unpack what happened, people can go on and learn from it. And
it seems like we're getting somewhere right now. It seems like if I'm listening to you, the doctor right now, Dr. Janis A. Spring and Shanae Hall, what I'm getting is people leave because they lack the resources, because they're not relationship experts. It's easier to bounce than it is to stay and work it out. Because if you're going to work it out, you got to have the tools in which to do it with.
But didn't you give the example on another show where you have and I'm not going to say any names because I don't know, how they feel about talking about it, but they sold 30 million books.
Are you talking about Ashley Madison?
I'm talking about Dr.
John Gray?
Yes.
We can talk about John Gray.
Okay, and they have the tools. Both of them were married. They were both experts in their field of relationship. Sold 30 million books just in that Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and they still ended up divorced. So what kind of tool package do you need to have in order to make it?
Well, again, just because you're a clinician or a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever, even Dr. Janis A. Spring will tell you that doesn't make your relationships immune from conflict, from stress, from strife, and even infidelity. Am I correct there?
Absolutely. The psychology conventions are rife with infidelity. So,
wow.
Wow, we're going to go to callers right now. Doc, do you mind fielding some calls with us?
Okay, a few minutes because I'm on East Coast time.
I got you, honey.
Sleepy.
Just a few minutes. I got you. Andre from Detroit, you're in the voice of reason. Let's roll.
All right, first of all, Zoe, got to say I love your show, man. I call in every single week. I try to at least. But I'm going to go ahead and lay it out on the line. I'm currently engaged, and I got caught cheating on my fiance. I took another, it was heavy. I took another chick to Vegas, and I got caught. And I don't know how to actually repair it. And her attitude is that, you know what, I should take her to Vegas in order to be like, well, her self-worth is just the same. I mean, we've also been on trips before together, but she always wanted to go to Vegas, and I ended up taking somebody else. So I don't know what to do to repair it, or if it's repairable, or am I just beating a dead horse, you know?
Andre, was it worth it?
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't.
So, Doc, how does he address the
Well,
situation?
you know, I'm concerned about the expression "I got caught." You know, you'd have to ask yourself, in the deepest way, why did you do it? You get engaged to someone and you go off with another woman. Where are you going with this?
Right,
it's not just a matter. It's not just a matter of being caught, but what is your value system? You can go with this other woman. You can go with other women. You are free, but don't be married. This woman who's engaged to you wants to have a monogamous relationship. If you don't want that, then have enough respect for her and decency yourself that you free her and say, I'm not for you because I'm going to want to be with other women. You are free to be with other women, but not be married to her.
Wow, that's a good point, because
wonderful.
I got caught implies had I not been caught, it would have been all good.
Right.
I would have kept it rolling.
We'd have been in Miami.
Wow, great answer, Dr. Janis. Let's go further. Terrence from ATL, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, what's going on, Zoe, man?
What up, man?
Yeah, man, I want to talk about, you know, I usually give somebody one chance to cheat. Because, see, me, I'm a truck driver. So, you know, me having somebody at home, I got to really have somebody I can trust. You know what I'm saying? Because while I'm gone... Say what?
Finish your point.
Yeah, see, while I'm gone, you know, she could be at home doing whatever she wants. You know, I don't want to be out here, you know, constantly with that in the back of my head all the time, you know. That's why, like I say, I usually give somebody one chance.
And they're out of there?
Yeah, and if they do it again, then I know they ain't even trying to. So I'll just go ahead and leave that alone.
Wow. It sounds like that's something that has happened to the dude. And, you know, every woman that he dates from here on out, one chance.
You got a one-strike policy. I ain't mad at him,
one-strike policy. What do you think of that, Doc? Is a one-strike...
I'm having a little trouble. I think the man is saying that he's a truck driver. He's not home for long periods of time, and he's worried that his wife is going to cheat on him.
Yes. Yeah. Or whoever he's dating. He's saying they get one strike. Yeah. He says if they cheat on him once, he'll be out on the road, and that thought of them cheating on him will always be there. And if they do it twice, he's really done, because he knows, you know, they've done it before. So he kind of has that script playing over in his mind over and over and over again. This is crazy. Right. Janice, you want to get one more caller in?
Okay.
Aaron from Mizzou. What's up with you?
Hey, Zoe, doctors. So I just want to say, man, you know, when I do turn on to your show, man, I really appreciate the topics that you have. It's such relief. You know, nothing against, you know, anybody else on the Foxxhole, but it's just a relief from all the cussing and the N-words that I tend to hear when I do turn on the Foxxhole. Wow. Now that I got that out the way, I cheated on. I was unfaithful to my wife. I've been married now for 12 years. I've been my wife and I have been together for about 19 years now. Back in 2004, I was unfaithful to my wife. And it was strictly because, I mean, it was a lot of things that I was not getting at home, say for like back rubs. I would ask my wife for a back rub. At the time, my wife and I were together for a long time, and I had not one time ever took a shower with another woman, not even my wife. I would ask her, baby, can I get in the shower with you? It was always no. But anyway, make a long story short, I found I was unfaithful, and I found a young lady, man, that did all those things. I got the back rubs, I got the showers, and all that kind of stuff. Really got nothing out of it but that. My wife did eventually find out, and the next time I did it, doctors was about a year and a half ago. This was absolutely the worst time of my life. During the time that I was cheating on my wife with this young lady, it was I ran into a state of depression because of the guilt was like killing me. I mean, I was absolutely. My wife eventually found out about 6 months later by going through my cell phone and seeing some old text messages. But I cut it off with the young lady because of the guilt that I was. Just the disrespect and everything that I was showing my wife, man, would just be killing me. And I would come home at night after being with this lady, and my wife would be sitting in the bed crying because, wondering where I'm at, and
so
I'm
Aaron,
over it.
Aaron,
yes,
let me
sir.
ask you this: Are you still with your wife?
Oh, absolutely.
And how did you start the process? Because you gave us a nice little story. I wanted you to roll. And they were telling me to wrap you up, but I said, no, let him get it out right now. But let me ask you this: how is it that you were able to turn it around, or are you still in the process of turning it around? And do you need a little help from Doc, Shanae, and myself?
Well, this is actually how I did it. I think right now my wife and I are this is the strongest that our relationship has been, I believe, since I've met my wife back in 1991. I mean, what had happened is my wife was telling me that it took her a long time to get over it. I admitted to her. I admitted to her the affair and everything like that, and she sat me down one night, actually about 4 months ago, and just said, "Baby, I can really right now. I can really say that I can get over this thing that you had with this other lady, because I've been on my P's and Q's, and I can tell you one thing, and this is for all the Foxxhole audience and the doctors and everybody. I would never ever cheat on my wife again, because it was really." I really got nothing out of it, man. I mean, it would never, ever happen again. So,
well, Aaron, let me say this, man. I really appreciate your call. I'm here every Thursday. Thank you, man, for sharing and being so candid. I've got to take a quick break. Let me just say this really quickly. Doc, you were great.
Thanks for having me on.
Dr. Janis A. Spring, go buy her book. I implore my listening audience to go get the award-winning After the Affair, Healing the Pain and Rebuilding Trust When a Partner Has Been Unfaithful. Go to Amazon.com, go to her website, JanisAspring.com. I'll spell Janis for you, Janis, Spring.com. Go get her book. You were an excellent guest. I truly appreciate your knowledge, your patience, and all that you've brought to the Voice of Reason tonight. Thank you very much.
Well, you're terrific. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Now,
bye-bye.
we got to move. We got to take this break, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to ZoWilliams on Foxxhole Radio, Sirius 106 XM 149. How to admit you're a cheater. Redeveloping courage, honesty, and trust in your relationship after infidelity. Get to your phones right now. 877-2-106-106. That's the number to dial. I'll be back.
I like to say that women need to work hard to still make their man feel like king, because we want a king, right? So if you want a king, treat him that way.
Ladies and gentlemen, ZoWilliams has returned. How to admit you're a cheater is tonight's topic. Redeveloping courage, honesty, and trust in your relationship after infidelity. This show is talking about how do you rebuild it. That last news clip was Dr. Walsh from CNN, and man, her statement reminds me of my guest, earlier in the year, Dr. John Gray, when we were talking about the hormonal dance between oxytocin and of course, testosterone. I'm like, brain
Somebody
farting.
help me out.
Right. And what he was saying was men cheat because, and he was saying this is one of the potential reasons for why. He knows it's a complex conversation and there are many different factors and reasons for why men and women cheat.
Right.
But he was saying we can't discount the hormonal reason. And he was saying in a domestic environment, testosterone in men drop. And he was saying what can raise testosterone is a couple of things. Appreciation from his wife, even if he just screws in a light bulb for her, thank him, show him appreciation, spikes his testosterone. You know, and testosterone, we need it for everything. We need it to blink. We need it to think. We need it to poot, whatever. Wow. We need it. So he was just saying, you know, what happens is testosterone levels drop, and a way to spike testosterone levels is also to cheat. Because when you get back out on the hunt, testosterone levels spike when you're hunting. So, you know, that was an interesting thing that she was saying about treat him like a king. Maybe if you treat him better, he won't cheat. And maybe if he treats her better, she won't cheat. Because women will cheat if she's not being treated properly, especially if she's locked into a financial situation where if she leaves, she would lose more.
Right.
Sometimes,
you're talking about like Shaquille O'Neal.
Sometimes financial restraints will keep you in a relationship that really isn't good for you. That is, that makes you unhappy. This is a cold situation. We've got more guests coming in. It's very important. I'm here right now with Shanae Hall, author of Why Do I Have to Think Like a Man? How to Think Like a Lady and Still Get the Man. She just bought this. She just wrote this book. It's out right now. Go to Amazon.com. You can get it. I want to see what you guys think about it. Call me, email me. You can follow me on Twitter at ZoWilliams. You can email me, zo@SiriusXM.com, and tell me what you think about Shanae's book. But before I do that, let's bring in our next guest, Gary and Mona Shriver. Here's their bio. Co-founded Hope and Healing, an adultery recovery peer support ministry. They have been co-leading support groups in their local area since 1998. They've co-authored the book Unfaithful, Hope, and Healing After Infidelity, and are leaders. And you know they also have a DVD here, Teaching in Hope and Healing Resource Kit. You guys got to get with these folks. I try to bring people on that can provide information because there's a lot of people out there that are hurting over this situation. So let me just say, Gary, Mona Shriver, welcome to the Voice of Reason. How you doing?
Real good, Zoe. Thanks for having us here tonight.
Hey,
Thank you very much.
I'm so happy we got a team here now.
We're on West Coast time, so we can go all night.
I love it.
Great.
I love it. So let's just get right down to it. Let's get into the meat and potatoes.
Okay.
The relationship is devastated from infidelity.
Yes.
Right? What is the first step? How do we get it back? And can a relationship be even stronger after infidelity? How do we get it back?
Well, I'll tell you, it really can be had. You can. It's not, so many people out there believe that infidelity is the death sentence of a relationship. And I think it's because nobody's out there really saying that, yeah, you can get it back. Yeah, you can have trust. Yeah, you can have intimacy. You can have love. You can have all those things that you just don't believe that you'll ever have again. You can get that back. What do you got to do? It takes a long time to get there, and it also takes I think the first step is you got to be willing to try. You got to be willing to say, that doesn't necessarily mean either that I know we can make it after this, but it means that you just got to be willing to take the next step. And I got to tell you, for the person that's been cheated on, it's more than take the next step. It's take the next breath, because they are so devastated. This is such a traumatic injury to them. So many people just believe that, oh yeah, well, you just forgive and you move on. That's not how you get to the other side on this one. You really need to be able to be focused as a couple. And I think for the cheater, they got to be absolutely, completely upfront, absolutely, completely, transparently honest in everything. And so many guys that I've talked to and worked with over the years, they go, man, I don't know if I can just, let her have all my passwords and let her have all this, carte blanche to all of my email accounts and all that stuff. And I can understand that, but you don't have to live like that for the rest of your life. You just have to do it right now. You really got to try to rebuild that trust again by being transparently honest.
Wow.
Great. I have a question for you, or actually a comment. We had a caller just call in and talked about how hard it hurt him in order, that's how they were able to get the relationship. I think when people cheat, if the person that is cheating is hurting just as bad as the other person, it makes it easier to transcend into a better relationship, because I hurt you and I'm hurting for you, not, oh, like the other caller said, I got caught, so how do I fix it? That's a totally different element.
Well, Mona, come in. I want to hear your voice, Mona. Add to this conversation.
It's a great voice. You're going to love it.
So you guys agree with the process?
Mona.
That's what I'm asking. I was talking to Mona. I said, did she agree with what I was saying as far as...
You know, I absolutely do agree, because it takes both people working together to rebuild the marriage. But the one thing I was going to add to that is it can sometimes take a while for the person who's been unfaithful to fully comprehend exactly what they've done and what it costs. And so when we talk about being transparently honest, we're talking about that for both the person who was betrayed and the person who was unfaithful. Because you really have to allow your husband or your wife to see what you're thinking and feeling. Now,
you just got to pull the curtain back and say, hey, here's my factory. This is where I work.
Right.
Come on in and let's see.
My side job.
Right. This is what I've been doing.
That's right. And the challenge is to do that with respect and kindness when the emotions are so overwhelming and so deep and strong.
So do men and women usually deal with infidelity differently? And if so, what are some of the ways that men deal with it versus women?
You know, we've dealt with both, and I think the pain is very universal. Men tend to have a little more difficulty with the physical aspects of the relationship because they see sex as physical sex as love. Women will struggle a little more with the emotional aspect of the relationship because that's where they see love. But the universal pain is very, very much the same.
This is amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to ZoWilliams, the voice of reason on Foxxhole Radio. And again, tonight's topic, it's a heater. We've got great guest, Shanae Hall, author of her book. Tell them what your book is.
Why do I have to think like a man? How to think like a lady and still get the man. Of course, it is a response to Steve Harvey's book, which is endorsed by Cedric the Entertainer and many others.
Wow, nice little commercial. Yes, and of course we have Gary and Mona Shriver. Tell them what the name of your book is, please.
Our book is Unfaithful, Hope and Healing After Infidelity, and what we do is give you a glimpse into the realistic healing of a marriage by people who have done it.
Wow. Tonight's topic, how to admit you're a cheater.
You know, so that is so important what you just said right there, because I know when I was going through my situation, I still felt like, and we talk about in our book, I didn't feel like he was ever honest. And so it was never a time where I felt like I could recover, because I'm still asking you questions and finding out little tidbits where you lied. And it's like, okay, if that's the case, I can never ever trust you, and that you can never ever be married.
True. Oh, that's so true. You can't. It's not. We can't do a torture here. You know, that's the one thing. If I can talk to the guys out there that are coming home and they're gonna, admit to this, get it all on the table right here, right now. Because she needs to put together this puzzle, and she needs this information. And if you just hold back or you minimize, or we only went there once, and then you find out later that it was 3 or 4 times. Well, even though there's really like no new information, but there was like 3 or 4 times, she still thinks it's just absolutely another example of this devastating dishonesty. And you're back to square one again.
Exactly.
And you're making a great point, Gary, because, I mean, there's so many other factors that are involved here. When you say minimizing, when you minimize someone, now, I don't know if you guys have read the book on verbal abuse, but when you minimize what a person is thinking, and then what they're feeling, that kind of reopens the wound again.
But it opens it larger, because you're now like, you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. I'm hurting, and I think you did this, and you're, no, I talked to her for 15 minutes one time. I met her at the grocery store. And then you look at his cell phone bill, and he has 28 calls. So now my mind is gone from point A to point Z in 60 seconds, and you can't recover, because now you have to pull me back to where it really was. And that's the hardest thing that men have to remember, or women, whoever whoever's cheating is that you can't minimize it and you can't lie. I need to know what it is, or we'll never heal.
Okay, Gary and Mona and Shanae, we're going to take a caller right now. Do you guys mind talking to this caller? Do you guys mind?
Sure, bring them on.
All right, well, let's get active. Callers, 8772-106-106. That's the number to dial. I'm getting to you right now. Cloud from Buffalo. Holla at me, man.
Hey, what's going on, Zoe?
I'm good, man. Long time no hear.
Yeah, as always, man, your show is still a breath of fresh air. So, like,
thank you, brother. I appreciate
much props to you. One of the things I've learned as far as like redemption is you cheated, because I've cheated before, and first you kind of have to know yourself and know your weaknesses. So, example, case me, and I had to admit to myself that basically, like, I was easy. I like to like me. Now, although I've matured and I've grown a little more, it still is what it is, but at least I know to recognize it, so I know what to avoid. And then number two, a lot of your guests have been touching on it, is be willing to talk about it, because, the more you try to get defensive, the more questions they're going to formulate, and the more it's going to create mistrust. Because I remember my wife would want to talk about it and ask questions and to get extra closure. I actually had the nerve to throw a fit, like, "Oh, we on this shit again?" Mm-hmm. But then once I found out that I was willing to delve into it and talk about it and answer any questions she had to ask, then she was able to relax, and she was like, "Okay, I can trust you now."
So transparency.
Exactly right. Transparency.
Yeah, that's very important to making this thing happen. Thank you, Cloud. I appreciate the phone call. 877-2-106-106 is the number to dial. Tonight's topic: how to admit you're a cheater. This show is about rebuilding trust. We see in the news, we see in the media where people just break up. And like we spoke with Dr. Janis before you guys came on, it's really easy to break up because a lot of people don't have the tools required to rebuild trust. So with that said, what are some of the tools that are very important, that are integral? Give me 2-3 tools. Somebody out there listening right now may need one of them. Let's go.
I'm going to say transparent honesty. Please be open and honest. And Cloud hit on it perfect with the questions, because if you become defensive on that, then all that does is shut them down. And then, if you stop and think about it, if you don't become honest with them, you're leaving all the details to their imagination, and they're going to come up with far worse than what probably reality really would bring to the table. So just absolute, complete transparency, and be willing to answer all the questions. Now, I think that they can get into a real frenzy at sometimes. So what you might want to think about is, one of the questions that I would work with Mona and say, "Now, honey, I know I will answer that question. If you need for us to go there, I will be more than willing to answer that question, but I'm so afraid it's going to hurt you more, and I don't want to hurt you more, but if you need to hear that answer, I'm willing to go there with you."
Yeah.
And sometimes that would slow her down, and she'd go, "I don't know if I want to live with that for the rest of my life,
Absolutely.
But other times she would say, "No, I really want to hear it." And I'd say, "Okay." And you know what? Even though it might end up her crying herself to sleep that night, and it ruined that whole night, it played into the trust later, because she knew she could come to me with anything. And that's really important. If you want that intimacy back, you've got to be open and honest.
Wow.
One thing
Shanae?
I would add to that, and you guys are more than welcome to agree or disagree, is empathy and sympathy, understanding that it's not about you. So when you're thinking and saying, "Oh, I only did," or "I only did," it's not about you. You need to empathize and sympathize with the person that you have actually hurt very badly, and taking yourself out of the situation and saying, "I feel for you, because then I can recover when I know you're there to support me again."
That's so important, too, because the empathy, getting behind her eyes and feeling her pain, is just huge. It's a turning point in the recovery process.
But I think I think the partner has to care in order to do that.
You have to believe they care. Yeah.
Right. That's what we talked about that at the beginning. You have to acknowledge that
But this goes back to my other question. As a society, are our expectations of fidelity, commitment, and monogamy realistic? I don't think so. I think we come into it just like, "Hey, this will work for now, and if something happens, I'm going to leave."
Right.
Well, yeah, that out is there, and it's particularly there with infidelity. Most people don't think you can rebuild. We all know everybody who divorced after adultery, and they would never tell you that they wish they'd stayed. And the ones that you do know that stayed are usually miserable. And so that's part of our agenda, is there are a lot of us out there that have truly healed after infidelity, and it is one of the options.
Yes,
and it's really possible. Mary from California, you're in the Voice of Reason. It's time to chat. Let's go.
Hello.
Is it Gina?
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry, Gina. They wrote Mary.
How are you, Gina?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
I'm alive and well. Talk to us. What's going on in your life?
Well, I'm a truck driver.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been involved with this man for 9 years. And he cheated on his wife with me. He ended up divorcing his wife and with me. But when he was seeing me, he was cheating on me with other women. And now we live together. We have built a relationship. We've been living together for 3 years. Moved in together, and I still don't trust him. I have a problem trusting him, and they say once a cheater, always a cheater, but he has said that he has changed, and he will never hurt me. He will never do that to me. But like the guy was saying, you know, show him your cell phone bill, your passcodes to this. He's always like hiding his cell phone bill, or he doesn't want me to see it. Or I'm like, well, what's the problem? What's the big deal? What's the secret? We shouldn't have no secrets. We started a new clean start here. Let's get everything out on the table. You know.
Well, Gina.
Yes.
No, I was gonna say, I think your female intuition is kicked into gear, and you pretty much have to make a decision. If you're asking the panel, and from my perspective, you pretty much have to decide, is this how I want to live? You know, you guys have been dating for 9 years and you lived together for the past 3. Do you want to have to worry about checking his cell phone and him hiding it and turning it off and putting it in a Cheetos bag before he goes to sleep so you don't find it for the rest of your life? That's, you know what I'm saying? Or is he going to be honest with you and come forward and say, this is what I'm living?
But wait a minute, Gina, thank you, honey. But wait, just wait. This is a society that's built on image and facades and mirrors. There's a reason why AshleyMadison.com exists. There's a reason that guy has over 7 million married couples cheating with each other on that little network.
Right.
There's a reason. At the end of the day, when are we going to recontextualize our belief about monogamy?
And say that it's okay to cheat?
I'm not saying that to say it's okay. I'm just saying this is the reality.
So, but I'm saying, you're saying at some point we should accept the reality of our life.
Absolutely, and stop living in the fantasy that it's all gravy. Only a few only a few people are evolved enough. You can disagree with me. 877-2-106-106 is the number to dial. Only a few evolved people can be in and build a meaningful relationship.
So you're telling me if you marry tomorrow, you are okay, you're going to accept...
Oh, I'm not marrying tomorrow, so this is not going to work.
Would you accept your partner cheating on you?
No, because I'm not evolved enough to deal with that. That's my point.
Okay, so you're not going to... Mona, go ahead. I'm lost for words right now.
You know, I think what I would say, instead of evolved, I would say that we have too many expectations of a relationship, that there are some realities. No one person can fulfill every need you have. So there has to be balance in your life. The other thing is
with monogamy.
Yeah. We as a society have said we can do anything, anytime, without any restraints.
Right.
And we throw men and women constantly together and say, you know, just be strong and don't do anything. Or we say, well, it's inevitable. And the reality is we are created sexual beings, and being married does not take away that fact. So as a monogamous person...
But there are a lot of disgruntled, drunk men in bars that would disagree.
That would disagree what?
That, you know, being married does not take away sexuality. For a lot of people, they're not getting it. Am I lying?
There's people.
No, you're not lying, but you're talking about an unhealthy marriage.
Right.
And I'm saying the majority of marriages in America are unhealthy.
Really?
That's what I'm saying right now. It is estimated that roughly 30 to 60% of all married individuals in the United States will engage in infidelity at some point during their marriage. Research consistently shows that 2 to 3% of all children are the product of infidelity. Can we stop playing?
But do you think people are getting married for the wrong reasons? Like, I know people that got married because they didn't have health care insurance. I know people that got married. So if that's the reason,
what about the people who get married because it's time?
Or because...
Or it doesn't look right?
Right.
That's my point. This is why the divorce rate is skyrocketing.
Because the people... So you're saying that people are not getting married for the right reasons, which is causing this escalated amount of divorces. Not necessarily that people are not evolved enough, but that you're getting married for the wrong reason.
I think evolution has something to do with it.
So we've evolved to the point of not being able to be monogamous?
No, but I just think we believe in old, archaic ideas that need to be recontextualized to fit today's movement.
So you okay? Well, then you're talking about a whole other set of issues.
So let me just tell you, I love Gary and Mona Shriver.
I love them too.
They're on the phone right now, and this is a fight, and
Mona,
I love it.
And I'll just tell you, Zoe, I disagree, but it's okay.
Thank you for that, because I'm like, can somebody help me out? Y'all went.
Well, I'll tell you, we are monogamous.
Yeah.
And we've been married 36 years now. We had the bad experience, and it was hell.
Yes, we did.
But what you get after 36 years of marriage, when you are happy, when you have figured out how to do it, you can't touch that.
No.
You can't touch that.
But I agree with that 100%, but I think you guys are the exception to the rule.
Well, is it still good? Do you guys enjoy being with each other? After 36 years? I said after 36 years, you guys still enjoy each other's company and intimacy?
Absolutely. More than anybody.
You know what I think? And I'm going to throw this out because you got to throw yours out. You got a minute?
Go ahead. You got a minute. Go ahead.
I think what's wrong with society is they buy into this Hollywood lie that you fall in love and you stay with these flowers and romance for the rest of your life. Well, love.
Thank you, Gary.
The doctors.
Want to jump in?
No, the doctors have unpacked this where it's kind of there's this whole chemical thing going on, you know, with the dopamines and whatever. And I'm no doctor, please, but it's like a whole love process that goes on for about 2 years, and then that love evolves and it continues to evolve and it changes, and you have this wonderful person there that you fell in love with, and there was skyrockets and flowers and romance, you know, for the first couple of years, but things change, you know, and it becomes just a very cool relationship that you have with this other person. But I think what happens is so many people, I don't feel like that anymore, so I guess it's time to turn in this husband and get a new one or whatever, and they're just constantly evolving that way. Where if they would have given that relationship a chance to evolve into the next step, into the next thing, it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And you go talk to people, of majority of them that have been married 20, 30, 40 years, they just talk about how it's so sweet now. It's just such an awesome relationship to be able to wake up next to this person that is just your life partner and has been forever and ever. And I tell you, infidelity is not the reason to throw it away, because you've got so much invested, and once you come through this traumatic experience together, if you can regain that trust and intimacy by being completely open and transparent with one another, you can have a relationship that is just amazing. And it's not just us. We just know couple after couple after couple that have been through this, that we've had the pleasure and blessing to be able to be a part of their lives and come through this.
Man, I love what Gary is saying, because I too believe that challenge is the conduit to growth.
Amen.
Yeah.
I believe that. And
of course, yes.
And sometimes the challenge may be infidelity.
Yeah.
And you got to accept the challenge. Are you going to kneel to the challenge, or are you going to rise above the challenge? I really appreciate it. Stay on. We're about to take a quick break. Tonight's topic, once again, how to admit you're a cheater, redeveloping courage, honesty, and trust in your relationship after infidelity. Get to your phone lines. I got callers. I'm coming back to you. 877-2-106-106. That's the number to dial in. Before I leave, let me give you this quote, Mahatma Gandhi. The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. I'll be back.
The out, I guess, for my wife, and it only took a couple of days for her on Facebook before she found an old boyfriend and, took it from there. I didn't think anything of it until, the sneaking around and, carrying the computer in the other room and, quickly closing the laptop when I walk in the room. So you kind of know at that point something's going on. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a tool for an affair. The affair is going to happen anyways. Facebook makes it much easier because you're not face-to-face. You're not going out and meeting somebody. You're flirting or you're chatting online with old boyfriends, girlfriends, people you think are cute, whatever.
Wow, that was Guy Savage speaking on how easy it is to cheat with the social network medium of Facebook. Man, this is a cold situation. How to admit you're a cheater. Redeveloping courage, honesty, and trust in your relationship after an infidelity. Get to your phone lines, 8772-106-106. I just want to come back with another quote. To forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. Louis B. Sneeds. This is a cold situation. How to admit you're a cheater, man. This is what we're talking about tonight. I've got husband and wife guru of bringing it back, Gary and Mona Shriver. Right?
Love them.
They are on fire right now. They wrote the book Unfaithful, Hope, and Healing After Infidelity. Go buy their book. Go ahead, expand your library so we can have conversations in the world. And of course, I also have here Shanae Hall. She is a new author. She's just released a book, Why Do I Have to Think Like a Man, and How to Think Like a Lady and Still Get the Man. Great to have you. We want to go to callers. Let's get it cracking. Pan from Mizzou.
Hello.
Yo, what up, man?
Hey, man, I've been cheating for about 20 years.
Wow.
You've been cheating for 20 years?
Yes, and I'm still married, but me and my wife split up, and we got children involved. My thing is, whenever I'm in trouble, I'm a truck driver, I'm driving right now. Whenever I'm in I don't have any family. My mother and father's dead. I don't have any sister or brothers, no aunts or anything. She's always there for me. I kind of regret what I did. So I'm not in love with her anymore. We stopped having relationships a long time ago, but we still got a bond. I mean, I don't know what to do about that.
Wow. Gary, Mona, let's talk to him. Let's help this brother.
Wow,
You're
I
not
think we're all
together with your wife now, right?
Gary, are you still there?
Yeah, we're there.
Okay. I don't think our caller can hear. Can he hear us? Pan, talk to us, man. Oh, he dropped. I was trying to engage the brother.
Well, he said, to answer your question, he did say they are still together. He said because they have a bond, but they're not intimate anymore.
Oh, okay.
And it's been over 20 years that he's been cheating on her, so I'm assuming they've been together longer than the 20 years.
But is he still cheating if they haven't been together?
Well, they're married, though. They're technically married. He's saying he's cheating, so he feels in his heart that he's cheating on his wife.
Okay.
Well, at least he still feels something, because there's some people out there that feel nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
So what his thing is, what should he do? He said, I don't know what to do from this point. Does he leave? Does he stay? He said he has no family, so his bond with her, basically, she is his only family. What
It's
do you
called
suggest?
a companionate relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It might be devoid of passion, but it's still companionate. They're companions. And
Does he want to move forward, do you think? I mean,
the fact that he calls
means he
lets
wants
us know that he wants to do something,
Yeah.
whether it be move forward or make where it is better.
Well, you know, all I can just say is, and I know Mona's over here just jumping up and down, so, you know what, I won't be a gentleman about this, so Mona, jump up and down and go. I do have a point that I'd like to...
Well, I just, my suggestion to someone in that situation is they have acknowledged freely that they're in a very unhealthy situation. It's not making anybody happy, and it's not benefiting anybody. So what do? It's time for a change. Become completely honest, recognize that the relationship he has with his wife is unhealthy, and do whatever it takes to get it healthy again. There are a lot of resources out there. You don't have to do it by yourself.
Right.
But if you're willing to work at it, and you can engage your husband or wife to work with you and take the time and the energy to put into it, I don't believe it's ever too late to heal.
No, and that's the point I wanted to make, too. It's never too late. We have seen couples that have come, that have been through multiple affairs for years and years. and come and been a part of our classes and have learned to communicate and have just grown deeper and deeper and deeper in this intimacy that they have. So if he has a desire, if they both have a desire to do that, you know, what that journey is going to look like, I mean, it could be counseling. You know, I mean, make a you know, an appointment with a marriage counselor. They might be able to really do that. There's a lot of great books out there on teaching you how to communicate with one another. You know,
Give us two of them. Give our listeners two of them.
The Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman. That'd be an awesome book to read. Just because it kind of helps you unpack on how you talk and how you feel love and how you can communicate those loves to one another. And that would just be an awesome thing if they would both read and they could maybe discover something about each other. Because that's what this is all about. It's just studying your mate, studying the person that God put on this planet for you, and really getting behind their eyes and seeing the life through their eyes as well, you know, and it's just about empathy and love. And
I tell them unfaithful too, because it's a picture of a journey of healing, and it would give them a place to start.
You know, too, one thing that I would add, Pan, if you're still listening, is I would actually sit down with your wife and see where she wants to go with it. Because I'll tell you this, if she stayed with you 20 years, I'm sure she knows what you're doing, and obviously she loves you enough to stay. So her motivation is not to leave you. Is to continue to be your support system and continue to be there for you. So I would sit down with her first and foremost and say, this is what I've done, this is where I want to be. Now, we can't make that decision for you if you want to stay or you want to go, but whatever the decision is, you guys need to sit down, because you did say you have children. So it's so important that it's talked about amongst the both of you and how you're going to maintain that family bond and unit that you guys have.
Wow, that's heavy. Worthy from Pennsylvania, I'd like to hear what you have to say about tonight's conversation.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, actually, I'm from Niagara Falls, New York, but I'm a truck driver. I'm in Pennsylvania right now.
Okay, brother, talk to us.
Yeah, well, my question is, you know, where you've been in a long-term relationship with a woman, and because of your profession, like I told you, I'm a truck driver, and you're home, away from home weeks at a time. And, you know, sometimes, you know, us truck drivers, we get stereotyped, and your woman don't believe that you're not cheating. She thinks that because you're, 1,000 miles away, you laid up in some truck stop with, with
a lot lizard. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I used to explain to my woman, we got two beautiful children together. Although we're not together no more, we've been broke up for almost 4 years. But I used to tell her, look, I keep it strictly business out here. I'm not laying up with no women. And I don't want to lay up with no stranger anyway. I look forward to coming home being with you. So, I mean, and then I found out with all her, her accusing me of this and giving me the truck driver bad rap with being a womanizer, I come find out she's doing all the cheating.
Wow. Man, thank you, Worthy. I appreciate that call, man. Thank you very much. He brought up something at the end that is really telling. Sometimes the person that's banging the hardest about you cheating and you doing this and that be the one that's laying it down themselves. Wow, that's cold. Chris from New York, it's your turn, man. Let's go.
Listen, I'm glad you finally got to me.
Let's do it.
I'm from Buffalo, New York. I'm right outside of where this guy called from in Niagara Falls. Now, I got to say this. I'm a man, and I don't know any men in my circle who are monogamous. I've been in a relationship for over 9 years. Now, this relationship I've been in for over 9 years, we've been in an open relationship about 3 years. So I see people on the side. She has someone she sees on the side. Now, as far as I'm concerned, you guys were talking about feeling like you were in a prison. I feel like I was released from prison when we decided to have an open relationship, because now I don't have to sneak around. I don't have to hide it. We know and understand that with any long-term relationship, you start losing some of the spark that you had in the beginning. This has actually brought us closer together. She goes out and she talks to her little boo on the side, and she comes home, and it's like, okay, we've reignited that spark that we lost, because now she's more affectionate to me, and vice versa. You know, and it's like, I mean, it's not for everybody. It's definitely not for everybody. But in our situation, it seems
works.
like this is what's glued us together and made us even closer.
And Chris, I agree with what you're saying.
Thank you for the call, Chris. I appreciate it. Go ahead, Shanae.
No, I was just going to say, every relationship is what works for you. No one's here to judge or pass judgment on what is set in stone and should be. So if you're out there and that's your deal, whatever works for you is what it should be.
Right. And Dr. Phil was just talking about this. It's called negotiated infidelity. Right? And there's a psychologist out there who has a book on negotiated infidelity where everybody knows about everybody, and it's all good. Go do the research. Go look it up. Don't believe a word ZoWilliams said. Gary and Mona, we about to take one more caller, and then we're going to wrap, because I want people to know where they can find you, as well as Shanae. One more caller. Mendez from New Jersey, you're that special caller. Let's talk.
Hi, yes. I wanted to comment on Ashley Madison. I believe, although it's just a comment, that we, like a society of, what's the noise over here? But we live in a society that it's like based out of a Cinderella story. You know, women have this image of what they want to do and accomplish, you know, and they get to a point where, you know, when they reach, you know, marriage and whatnot, they're waiting for the next step. You know what I mean?
Yes, man. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much. Gary, Mona Shriver,
yes,
you guys were a spark of light tonight on this show. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to share your insight and knowledge with us. Where can people find you? Do you have a website? What's the name of the books? They got to go get your stuff.
Yes, the book is on Amazon or any bookstore. It's Unfaithful, Hope and Healing After Infidelity. And our website is hopeandhealing.us.
Wow.
Hopeandhealing.us.
Boy, and if they hear anything from us, just that you can have love, you can have trust, you can have intimacy, you can have a relationship that you won't believe that you can have afterwards. It is possible. Wow. I just want to say that as loud as I can to your audience, because you can come back from infidelity.
Hey, we're going to have you guys back. You guys are great. I appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. No problem. Shanae Hall.
Yes. Of course, you can go get the book, Why Do I Have to Think Like a Man? It's in Barnes & Noble's. Amazon. New book just released October 1st. Again, Barnes & Noble's, Borders, Amazon.com. Our website is lovingmefirst.com. Again, it's Loving Me First. You can find us on Facebook. The book is doing extremely well. We just found out it's selling in 5 countries now.
It's about to do even better tonight.
Yeah.
After tonight, go check.
So I thank you. But yeah, it's incredible, and it's had an incredible remarks and reviews, and I'm really, really blessed right now. I woke up one day and I just looked at it and I said, you know what, God has blessed me. So I thank everybody who supported me coming from Foxxhole, everybody on Foxxhole who took, you know, Shanae and made it to the next level. So anyways, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Zoe, for having me on.
It's all good. And let me just do my little final thought here really quickly just to wrap it up. I love quotes, and I think quotes, you know, wrap it up for me really nicely. Again, when we look at relationships, it's very important that people understand that nothing will work if you're not willing to make it work. Whatever negative thought you energize, that thought is going to be there as long as you're feeding it. And the concomitant experience is going to follow that thought. So my thing is, hey, if you want to get out of the situation, get out of the situation. But don't linger in the situation and keep feeding it negativity.
Right.
Don't create a cycle of negative reciprocity. If it doesn't work, bounce. If you want it to work, put in that kind of energy. Right? You're not going to be able to get a solution or a resolution to a problem if you're focused on the negative aspect of it. Here's another quote. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. That's Martin Luther King. And my final quote, we cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate. It oppresses. That's Carl Jung. We got work to do, people. You want to get your relationships together, you're going to have to put in the effort, the energy. Follow me on Facebook, okay? www.com or www.facebook.com zo.williams1. Follow me on Twitter at ZoWilliams. We've got to continue the conversation. I've got something special to reveal to all of my followers in a couple of weeks. It's going to be incredible. And I'll see you guys next week. ZoWilliams is out.